Building Wednesday. That's what we call Wednesdays, Wealth Building Wednesday, although hopefully we're building it every day. The way we do things around here on that day, hour one, we look left coast, what's going on around here. We broadcast from the Crenshaw Quarter, Leimert Park, Africa Town, USA. Hour two, we start off with a wealth builder, typically putting the spotlight on a small business or black owned business, woman owned, local, socially innovative, and or we share some information for you that might help you in your pursuit of small business success. Then we open up the phone lines, national, international, and beyond. Well, they're really always open, but we kind of do freestyle phones in that hour two. And then hour three, we do a deep dive on a hot topic or person or persons of interest today. I'm looking forward to sharing with you an interview that I did with Misty Copeland. It was some time ago, but when you get the opportunity to talk with someone that iconic, it's really a pleasure. And the fact that she was up in them Oscars playing in Timothy Chalamet's face. I think it's a good time to reflect back on her life and her career, and just the fact that she was able to get up there and dance like that at the Oscar just a few months after having hip replacement surgery as a ballerina, as an athlete, and as a black woman. She spiked the ball, so we'll get a chance to get to know her a little bit better once again, which, yeah, looking forward to. And of course, I am excited to start off the show today with a longtime collaborator on this show. He is a community activist. He is also the director of operations for an organization called Urban Alchemy. He directs their operations in LA. He's lived in the city his whole life. Justice transformation and community advocacy is what he does. He was statewide director of initiatives for Live Free California. And y'all know him, Tim Kornegay. Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. Thank you as always. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be on here to have conversations that we have and share them with your listeners. Sometimes when I'm driving I'm listening to you have conversations with other folks, it makes me excited because I start to think about, wow, I'm in those same seats with these people, and these are some of the most influential people in our city. So when I get a chance to come hang out, it makes me feel real good, and I'm very excited to be back in 2026.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. And you're definitely one of those influential people, so it makes sense. Um, There's so much to cover, but Urban Alchemy is a relatively new. You've been there, what, 6 months?
I've been in this particular position right here for a year.
1 year
Yeah,
already. Okay.
this will be a year, and prior to that, I was on the board for a couple of years.
And I think, can't remember who it was. Might have been, well, I don't want to name names and put something on somebody. But one of our regular KBLA delegates who join us every day or most days on YouTube, which, by the way, you can do that too at KBLA 1580, was talking about the intervention kind of landscape here in the city. And he's hearing, I don't know where, somewhere in the press, that that grid is being dismantled, that that outside entities are taking over, people that are not from the city. And I assume he was referring to Urban Alchemy because Urban Alchemy is a national organization.
Yeah, we're currently in 7 states and 14 cities, but I don't think that the work that Urban Alchemy does is not a challenge to intervention, because intervention operates differently. And what Urban Alchemy does, it creates career opportunities for folks coming home. It's actually the biggest reentry organization in the country currently, with about 1,300 employees, and it gives folks coming home the opportunity to walk into their purpose, not only help themselves, but also engage in helping others who are in situations that they may have been in themselves. So we don't do gang intervention or CVI. and I'm certain that there's not a crossover because I have foot space in the CVI space as well with the work that I do with Southern California Ceasefire,
CVI is what?
community violence intervention.
So how is it not gang intervention? And
Well,
I guess let me ask it a different way. What do you do if you
it's
don't do gang
really
intervention?
it's
Because
a,
what I've observed
uh,
in San Francisco looks a lot like gang intervention.
it might look like that, but what it really is, it's homeless outreach, helping those folks experiencing homelessness get shelter. It's interim housing. It's getting folks who find themselves unhoused the documentation that they need in order to make medical appointments, and it's also taking those folks who have the desire to make a better life. If they want to participate, they can also become employees for Urban Alchemy, which gives us kind of a secret sauce. And when you talk about meeting folks where they are, we are people who have been in those situations, who have been on the streets, who have been incarcerated, who have been houseless, who have been on drugs, who have made the transformation and put ourselves in a position to help others and lift other folks up like us so they can get their lives and their humanity restored.
You were houseless, Tim?
I myself have never been houseless,
But you were
yeah,
incarcerated.
I made some of them carceral journeys. I got my PhD from
Carceral,
I got my PhD from Penn State.
carceral journeys.
Yeah,
Plural.
yeah.
Okay. And so when you, how does that give you a leg up in talking with or helping unhoused folks?
What we're finding now is a lot of folks who are unhoused are folks who have been impacted by the criminal justice system, and they come home and they don't have access to the resources that they need, and they find themselves in need of shelter. So when you find someone like that, there's a communication that can take place because you understand what they're going through. You understand the challenges of trying to get your life better after you've served some level of prison sentence. It could be anywhere from 1 year to 50 years. And just making that adjustment, you do need and want somebody who has been where you've been to kind of help you out and help you navigate your way back.
Yeah. Do you find when you're talking to people, they're surprised that you have that lived experience?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see a guy
Quite
with
often.
a suit. They see a guy with a blazer and a clipboard, and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah. And so, I mean, this is such a thorny problem, not just for our city. I know people think of LA because maybe it happened here first, just like a lot of things happen here first.
Yeah.
When you talk about the whole gang violence situation, I believe that we in LA exported this to much of the world. I don't just believe it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's
That's a fact.
provable. Yeah.
That's a fact.
And it's the same thing with houselessness, I think. We think of LA, it's LA's problem, but now it's really all over the country as housing becomes more and more out of reach. And I do think that with the policies of this administration and the wars that we're fighting, affordability is going to be a bigger and bigger issue. So that means houselessness is a bigger and bigger challenge.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm happy to see that under Mayor Karen Bass, we have seen a slight reduction for a couple of years in a row. That's the first time we've seen that in LA. And we're seeing some results at the county level. But there's also some disheartening things like the county pulling out of LAHSA, the houseless agency, and now they have their own agency, which they're halfway in LAHSA, halfway out. And now there's two agencies that cannot talk to each other. And that's concerning.
I think those are those administrative challenges and the effective distribution of funding and making sure that folks who get the funding are actually doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
and
the oversight part.
Yeah, and when you're responsible for so many contracts and so many external organizations being involved in the work, oftentimes that becomes a serious challenge. And when you have challenges like that, things do fall in the cracks and folks do find themselves in trouble, so to speak, because public perception is one thing, But once you get behind the curtain and actually see how these organizations operate, you realize this is not an easy task. That folks are really challenged. They're traumatized, and they're also suffering from secondary trauma and what's referred to sometimes as compassion fatigue. When you see folks in pain all day, every day.
Compassion fatigue, yeah.
And you want to help them, and you can only do so much when you know they need so much more, then it can start to weigh on you.
I mean, I think it's that, and I'm going to say the quiet part out loud because it's part of my job. I also think it's just like we get tired of constant threats and constant squalor, just like the garbage on the streets and downtown LA, bodily fluids and poop on the streets and people that clearly need mental health care walking around threatening us and our kids, and just, and it's so at a certain point your mind says, yes, I have compassion, but also I go to work every day and I want to be able to go to that park. I want to be able to walk down the street where I have to pay an exorbitant amount of rent to keep myself housed.
Well, it's not an easy task doing the work, because you're right. You have to deal with all of those things, but at the same time, it's a reminder that these folks who need that mental health support, who need shelter, these aren't strangers. These aren't literally folks who have come from another planet. These are our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers, aunties and uncles who have sometimes economic challenges, psychological challenges, that they find themselves in those positions, and we can't forget that, and we cannot always rely on administrative or government assistance. Sometimes we have to get out there and do things ourselves when we're tired of waiting on it to happen from a government level. It's really, if we living in communities, then it's our challenge to try to take care of our communities the best way we can, and not be afraid to look at folks and see them for the needs that they have, knowing that, what's that phrase? But for the grace of God,
there go I. Yeah, yes. For sure. I mean, I get that, but also the government is us because it's our money.
Absolutely.
So I don't think it's too much to ask for our money to be spent effectively and fairly, and have transparency and not have a lot of corruption.
Yeah, well, you've been around the voting space for quite a while, and you know how politics works, and the politicians haven't done it, but we've all forgotten that they're employees of ours, and they are obliged to go in the direction that we make the request. But the script has been flipped, and we think that they're supposed to inform and direct us on how things are going. So we just have to take control of who we are and engage with each other, and not spend too much time complaining next to each other, but take our complaints and consolidate them and take them to the government, to our administrators, to our city council, to our neighborhood council, to our legislative officials, to the county board of supervisors, and have conversations with them and let them know the direction that you want your community to be moving in.
Tim Kornegay is our guest. You're invited in at 800-920-1580, or hop in the YouTube comments and say a thing with the KBLA delegation. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day. All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable. All month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort is now officially over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
You are the architect of your own legacy, but you don't have to build it alone. I'm Lisanne Basquiat, a board-certified NLP expert and legacy healing strategist. I've built the Shaping Freedom platform to give you the exact tools you need to evolve. From my signature podcast and Lounging with Lisanne meditations to our intentional candles and journals. Stop living on autopilot. Visit shapingfreedom.com to access the teachings and tools you deserve for you and your family. Your evolution begins at shapingfreedom.com.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Right now, we're back to me. We're back to Tim Kornegay. You know a thing or two about L.A. I know you went away to what you're calling Penn State University for what? At least 10 years.
22 to be exact.
22 years. Dang.
Yeah.
But you know the city like the back of your hand for sure.
Yes.
I mean, you're very well versed with LA culture, which is a thing. People don't realize it is a thing. It's very different than a lot of other places. So 2 things about that. Number one, how would you say we're doing? I mean, LA's been a leader in the gang intervention, prevention, and I know that it's been very effective because our violence levels are not like they were in the 90s or the 80s.
Yeah. Not even close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because people don't get that because we're living in now, and when we see a smash and grab on TV, it's or a street takeover, it's like, oh no, ha! But this is not anywhere near how it was when I moved to LA.
No, not at all. So I think that on the bigger level, LA is doing good considering where it's come from.
Big
It
picture.
has some area of growth, but right now we're in a state of, I don't know if the word for it is like it's malleable or flux, where when folks step up and take control of their space and go, hey, this is what I want my space to look like, and this is the work that I'm willing to do, and not sit back and wait for something to happen and get that, I'm ready to make it happen, which the citizenry of LA has always been ready to step up and lead the charge and be in the forefront of change. And now is the time, and opportunity exists, and that's what the communities need to do.
Yeah. And the other part, well, there's a whole lot of other parts, but one of the things I was thinking about listening to you talk about Urban Alchemy and the work that you're doing right now with the Unhoused, I think we view it, for those that are really paying attention, that there are way less body bags. I mean, it's way less, right?
Yeah.
We used to have over 1,000 people murdered in LA every year. And now it's down in the hundreds, low hundreds.
It's the lowest level it's been in 60 years.
Right. So when folks, get hyped up on the news and they say, oh, no, we're in a crisis. And then we vote in something like Prop 36 and we vote in a DA like the DA we have now. People are reacting to fear, but it's actually not based on facts. Apparently, my arguments to that degree have not been super successful because people are still scared. But what we do see is houselessness. We never saw it it wasn't like this 10 years ago. It wasn't even like this it was like this 5 years ago. It wasn't like this 10 years ago at all. Like, I've been around Crenshaw area for way longer than that, and I never saw this. And now we see, white folks who are apparently being dropped off in our community, walking around unhoused, and lots of us, our neighbors, our friends.
Yeah, well, it's predominantly folks of color, but at the same time, it's ethnically it's spread out. And what you have is folks who some of the houses folks work, but they just cannot afford to live under a roof. Some folks have those mental challenges and they find themselves outside and in need of resources. They can't afford to do anything but. And the population has grown because the city has grown and the numbers of our city have grown. So 10 years ago, I don't think there were 4 million people in the city of LA.
Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm sure whether it's 1 million or 4 million, the percentage of unhoused people is much greater. I mean, 10 years ago, you walk around South LA, Leimert Park, Crenshaw, you just didn't see tents everywhere. It didn't happen. I know there were people living in their cars because they would call me on the show 10 years ago. But we just didn't see. It was more downtown in Skid Row, and it was in Santa Monica.
It was in isolated areas, but now they're just so much people, and a lot of folks move away from these communities that have been established, like Skid Row, because they want a level of independence and their own space. So they move out because it gets crowded.
Yeah. It gets too crowded in the so-called houseless area. And I also know that there are people who, and I think this is most people, want to stay where they're from. Even if they're unhoused, they want to go. But that's why I was surprised to see so many white folks. And I assume they're being dumped by somebody because they think there's services in South LA.
Yeah, exactly. And folks follow the services, but they also build like what they consider to be and what's considered to be communities.
Right. Well, I mean, they are communities, right? I mean, if those are the people you know.
And it's for purposes of safety, because if you go into some of the encampment, you realize that everybody in a particular encampment, they have a relationship with each other. On the level that they can, they support each other. They try to keep each other safe, and they feel, a sense of, I won't say home, but a sense of belonging in the areas that they are. And that's why you see that if there's a cleanup being done, folks will leave and they come right back because they feel like they're entitled to be in that spot because that's where they feel the safest at.
That's where they are from.
Yeah.
Ready Samedi says San Francisco has always been a tent city, and I'm going to push back on that because I grew up in San Francisco. No, it was not. Not only did I grow up in San Francisco, I grew up in San Francisco without a car. So I was on the Muni and the BART. And no, it wasn't always a tent city. It wasn't always, I'm sure there were houseless people, but I didn't see them like we see them now. Not at all.
And well, also one thing.
And San Francisco is very expensive.
I'm not like super familiar with San Francisco, but I think, I know for a fact Urban Alchemy is doing an amazing job in San Francisco and helping deal with the homeless population. But one thing that's different now that didn't exist 10 years ago or 15 years ago is that if you were houseless and you was in the wrong place at the wrong time, you went to jail.
Yeah.
And enough of those jail visits led to prison visits. So administratively, they were able to hide folks in facilities where you didn't have to deal with it.
Okay, hold that thought. We got news, traffic, and sports and more, only right here.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrimo when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says he may postpone his upcoming China trip because of the Iran war, telling reporters he feels he must stay in Washington.
I'd love to, but because of the war, I want to be here. I have to be here, I feel.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also said the visit might not happen as planned. An Iowa Senate subcommittee has stalled a House-passed bill to ban DEI offices at private universities. Supporters say schools shouldn't get taxpayer money if they promote DEI, while opponents warn it could trigger broader state control over any institution that accepts public funds. And a new video shows Tiana Taylor in an Oscars night altercation after a security guard allegedly shoved her while she was heading for a cast photo. Taylor can be heard calling the guard rude, but later told TMZ everyone was having a good time and security was just doing a lot. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to HBCU Howard University. The men's basketball team won the first NCAA tournament game in school history. Howard defeated Maryland-Baltimore County 86-83 Tuesday night in the play-in round in Dayton, Ohio. Howard, champions of the MEAC Conference, was 0-4 in the NCAA tournament before Tuesday night. Bryce Harris, a senior guard from Brentwood, New York, led Howard with 19 points and 14 rebounds. Howard advances to a first-round matchup Thursday in Buffalo against Michigan, the number one seed in the Midwest Regional. 4 p.m. tip-off local time, live coverage on CBS. Prairie View A&M, champions of the SWAC Conference, has their play-in game today against Lehigh. 3:30 p.m. tip-off for this one, live coverage on True TV. The Lakers are at Houston tonight. The Lakers are going for their 7th straight win. The Clippers are at New Orleans tonight. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Need your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580 host and African Focus Incorporated Cultural Ambassador. You probably know by now that every year our two organizations team up to lead a trip to the motherland. This June will be our 8th African Focus Trailblazers Tour, and it's not too late to join us. But if you've been thinking of going with us, now is the time to sign on before prices go up. Our current deadline is March 20th. Join us as we travel to a country widely considered one of Africa's most underrated destinations, Zambia, home to the towering Victoria Falls and the bustling capital city, Lusaka. Enjoy a visit to Botswana, known for its pristine natural beauty and stunning southern African wildlife. We travel in comfort with luxury accommodations, a variety of fun activities, and delicious dining. We do service with charitable work at a school and an orphanage, and we expand our horizons with cultural and historical excursions. To sign up now before our March 20th deadline, please call African Focus Incorporated at 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. Or check out africanfocus.org. Whether it's in the community or traveling the globe, we move as family. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Let's go.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, it's election season. It's a busy season. I know you how much you can talk about that stuff is limited because you're representing a nonprofit now. But it is it's on for sure. And we got yet another article today in the LA Times about how the two Republicans, Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton, are leading in yet another poll. And so if some of these Dems don't step aside, we could end up with two Republicans in our general election in November. Now, on the other hand, you've got Rusty Hicks, the chair of the state Democratic Party, telling those with lower polling numbers to step down. But if we follow his formula, there would be nothing but white people left in. And that doesn't make sense either, considering that we don't have a clear front runner right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking in the voter space, having been there when voter engagement is really about getting out there and having those educational conversations with folks to let them know what these candidates are capable of, and to really look at the history of, because oftentimes during elections, candidates seem to do these shifts, and what they're talking about appears to be very attractive, especially if they have large amounts of money and they can utilize the media space to get their images out there. But it's really important to look at history, to look at other jobs that they've had.
The fact that 16% of Californians are saying they're going to vote for Chad Bianco makes me want to move, because that dude is an oath keeper. He is a white supremacist. This is California. We're supposed to be a blue state, and then you've got Steve Hilton, who is a MAGA conservative commentator. So right now you're talking about 33% of the electorate going for basically the MAGA agenda at a time when MAGA is terrorizing our state and Minnesota, and they've got us into a war in Iran. What about this? So you want to go deeper into what's happening in Washington? I don't get it. And I understand what you're saying. The key is voter engagement, right? And mobilization, maybe more than people dropping out. But,
If you look at, and may his beautiful spirit rest in peace, Jesse Jackson's campaign speech from 1984, when he talks about rocks just laying around, we don't lose from the lack of folks voting. We lose from the margin of despair, because there's so many people who don't vote. There's so many people who don't understand the power of it. There's so many of us that don't believe in it. We don't make the effort to do the one thing that can create the kind of changes that we need. So that 16% represents folks who are actually politically engaged, and even if they don't have a political understanding, they know the direction of what they believe in and where it wants to go. And we need folks who believe in like community empowerment and folks having basics needs met to get off the sideline and get in the game.
I mean, also, if you do the math, this new poll from Berkeley IGS has Tony Thurmond at 1%, Betty Yee at 1%, and Matt and Antonio Antonio at 4%, which is a total of 6.
Mm-hmm.
So those 3 people getting out is not going to swing. It's not going to get you over the Hilton Bianco situation. You're going to need you're going to need Steyer, Porter, or Swalwell.
Yeah.
One of them is really who needs to step down because they're all over 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Steyer steps down. Probably Swalwell or Porter jumps over Hilton or Bianco. So rather than pressuring Yee, Thurman, Mahan, which no one seems to be doing, ABC put him on the debate even though he only has 4% because of his fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
And he, that's a whole other conversation about why they're doing that for him rather than the former Health and Human Services Secretary, who also has deep pockets. But in any case, if you really want to see instant results, Porter, Swalwell, or Steyer needs to step aside.
Yeah, well, we need to get our information out to folks and realize how critically important it is, and we should all have a concrete understanding that if you don't go vote and you vote wrong, what can happen? There was a time some years ago when I worked with MRT, and what he used to always say, if you don't come and show up on Tuesday, you ain't got no business complaining on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We got to show up.
Jerry Anderson says MAGA without Trump is still popular. Well, you know what? I mean, yeah, I guess all kinds of things are popular.
Well, what do we want? Because we always know what we don't want.
Fast food is still popular, too, and it kills you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have to
what do we want?
We always know what we don't want, but what do we want?
I mean, I'd take a Villaraigosa, a Becerra, a Yee, or a Thurman over any of the top polling people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, speaking of what we want, alrighty, there's something I did want to ask you about, pivoting back a little bit to the houselessness situation here. Because this is from last month, but we haven't had too much time for an in-depth conversation about it, which is that a federal judge found that L.A. violated the constitutional rights of houseless people by taking their personal property and destroying it when they do those cleanups. And it feels like this is a 7-year-old case. This was District Judge Dale Fisher. It seems like okay, because if I'm unhoused and you burn up my stuff and there goes my driver's license or my passport, medical records, that could be a whole problem. But on the other hand, what does that mean? We're supposed to be storing shopping carts full of garbage?
No, I don't think that's what should be done, but there should be a level of discernment or discretion involved that when these major cleanups are done, that you don't just do a wide swath of and everybody lose whatever they don't move in the time limit that you set. Like when these cleanups take place, it's usually done not with the level of discretion to determine what's valuable to the folks who are in the space. It's just like this stuff has to go, and what would you look at might be a pile of trash. There may be some increments of stuff in that are important to folks that they need.
I mean, what if it's all important to them in their minds?
I mean, there should be
There's a reason
some
they're
way.
carrying that stuff around.
Yeah,
It must be important to
of
them.
course.
But at the same time, there's levels to it, right? If that's your ID, we need to retrieve that.
Exactly. So
what's the right way to do it?
When you don't have nothing, anything can feel important.
Right. So what's the right way to do it?
That then there has to be a determination. Like what level of measure is there of what to destroy and what not to destroy? There are some obviouses, but once you get past the obvious and you look into it, like this is a bunch of trash. None of this stuff is usable, so this stuff should be removed. But if you come in like, dark 30 in the morning with the cleanup crew, and like everything goes, then there's no way to determine what could be of value and what's not of value.
Is that what's happening?
I think in some cases, yes.
So are we saying then that we expect city sanitation workers to sort through knapsacks and shopping carts to look for IDs and personal effects?
But I think there could possibly be some effort made to, not just be indiscriminately just everything has to go. But I do know that when they do this, there are teams that go in, because this is both sides of the coin. There are teams that go in and say, hey, on this particular day at this time, we're coming through to do the work. This for whatever reason, all this stuff has to be removed. So whatever you think is important to you, get it out, move it from the location now, because when we come, that this is what we're going to do. So there has to be a level of compromise or understanding on both sides. But as we've been talking about, when you have folks who have mental challenges, that level of communication might not take seed, and they may unfortunately be victims of property loss because they didn't understand the urgency or the importance to move their stuff.
Yeah, I think that you're right. There has to be some discretion. I feel it feels frustrating because I feel like we do have to protect people's important, essential things, but also, again, it's back to the rest of LA shouldn't be forced to live with squalor, and also we don't want to create a situation where now there's even more bureaucratic paralysis over cleaning up stuff.
So what are the options? I mean, the real important conversation is, how do you get folks housed? How do you get them the resources that they need? And then the level of what you may call waste of trash will decrease, and as opposed to letting things get to the point where, now something has to be done, because you can see like the evolution of accumulation on any of these encampment sites. One day you see 1 tent, the next day you see 2, then you see a mobile home, then you see 15, you see 20. You see the progression of, and folks who are in the field doing the work know that this is a pattern. So in order to just get in front of the pattern, do the most work, trying to get folks housed and utilizing resources.
When it's smaller.
Yeah, utilize the funds to get folks inside instead of spending enormous amounts of money on cleanups.
So you think we're spending too much on cleanups?
I don't think we're spending too much. I'm just saying if you do less cleanup and more investment in housing, it might make a difference.
Right. So it's about the priorities, not just are we going to spend money, but what are we spending the money on?
Because we have to spend money on both.
Why are there so many crazy people on the streets right now? I mean, I know everyone says Reagan closed down, but it's been a long time since Reagan. There was a big gap in between Reagan and where we are now. I feel like there are more people with mental health challenges right now. And I say in the black community because that's where I stay. Yeah. But, you've assured me that it's an everybody problem.
Yeah, it is an everybody problem. And why there are so many people who are suffering from mental health challenges, I think it's it has an environmental origin and a psychological origin, because we have never been under this much pressure to live and try to survive in the world where we're at.
You're saying because it's so expensive?
Because it's everything. It's so expensive. Oftentimes it can be so dangerous. Sometimes it can be so lonely. It can be exclusive. There are so many factors to consider in the level of mental illness. It just isn't like one level of it. It's different reasons. There's different levels.
But we lived through enslavement, Jim Crow, crack cocaine. I mean, it's not like we haven't had pressure before. We've had depressions. We've had a Great Depression. We've had a Great Recession. Yeah. I have never seen a number of people, not just talking about a mild mental health challenge. I'm talking about people who seem to be completely separated from reality.
And
is it the drugs?
I mean, this is.
You say it's the pressure.
I don't.
I was reading an article about
That's one level.
weed supposedly causing
Drugs is one level.
Bipolar and all these.
But some of our family members, friends, and relatives are totally psychologically sound one day and wake up the next morning and they're a totally different person.
Yeah, it happens.
And it's like, what happened? So there are different levels of it. There's excessive utilization of drugs.
Yeah.
It could be that. It could be some kind of traumatic injury that they suffered. It could be something that they've gone through. It could be an experience that have pushed folks into the space where I don't care anymore, that I need to revert inside myself because that's where my safety is. So I mean, it's not like it just looks the way it looks perceptually, but internally there are so many levels of that. It's an extremely challenging space to be in and try to deal with.
I mean, I feel that if I was forced to live on the streets, I would become mentally ill. Even if I didn't get there mentally ill, I might become mentally ill.
There you go, right
because
there.
of the pressure. But I don't know that I would
additional level.
But I don't know that I would become like completely schizophrenic or, separated from reality. I mean, there's a difference between depression, anxiety. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And
well, just from personal experience, I know too many people who were mentally sound one day and the next day there's a question mark. Like, what happened?
Were they unhoused when they crossed over that bridge, or were they?
Progressively, the conversation started being nonsensical. Like, did you really just say that? And then they progress towards not taking care of themselves at the level that you're accustomed to seeing, and then you find it like they no longer want to be inside; they want to sleep in their car, and then you see them sometimes at.
But isn't that a stereotype that the unhoused don't want to come inside?
Some unhoused folks really don't want to be inside.
So what do we do about that?
Whether they're suffering from mental challenge or it's just a decision that they've made.
So what do we do about that? Because, I mean, it's dangerous for them and it's dangerous for the community. People are dying on, 5 or 6 people a day in LA die?
Yeah.
Unhoused?
If those statistics are correct. It could be less, it could be more.
Right.
But some folks make that choice. But,
and the other thing the talking point I hear all the time, Tim Kornegay, is all these people got families. Where are the families? Everybody here got a mama, a brother, a sister, a cousin.
I think that's exactly what you said. That's a talking point, and oftentimes that is not true. Some folks don't have anybody. For instance, and this is just a hypothetical, if a person has had one of those incarceral journeys that may have lasted 20, 30, or 40 years, you may have lost everybody that's close to you while you were in the place. And once you have access to your freedom again, then you're free with nothing and nobody. So that everybody has family, that's what we want to believe, but that's often not true.
Talking with Tim Kornegay, we'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Yeah. Well, Tim Kornegay is here. I'm laughing because we were talking about the importance of financial literacy off the mic, and I might have to recruit you to do a Wealth Building Wednesday one week to talk about the importance of that, because that is part of what lands some of us in houselessness, right? I mean, we make what we'll call bad decisions, but they're really uninformed decisions. Those check cashing places, the predatory credit cards, predatory loans that can end up
not understanding terms of a loan, not knowing what an APR is, not knowing how to use the credit cards wisely, not knowing how to manage, how to get debt that you can manage that doesn't put you in fear of. Because most of us, I don't know, maybe I'm casting a broad swath, but I'm gonna say most of us are scared of debt. I don't want to be in debt, because I have individuals tell me all the time, I don't want credit cards because that's gonna put me in debt. I'm like, hey, well, that's your choice.
I mean, I feel them. I call myself pay as you go nation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy something unless I have money to pay for it, but I have learned to use a credit card to build my credit. I just pay it right after I charge it.
And that's a good thing. When you do things like that, you see that your credit score goes up, and it puts you in position to access more of what you need if you want to utilize
and
it
pay
in that
less
manner.
for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a whole journey. But we should definitely do a show talking about that. So we talked about how a lot of folks coming out of the system, out of carceral systems and foster care and such, do end up unhoused. The other group, LA Times had a great article about was elders, what we would call retirees, but they don't have retirement.
Growing population, fastly growing population, and a lot of the folks who are houseless right now are elderly.
Because they can't afford their rent when they stop working.
Exactly. And, when they've made some bad financial decisions, or they've trusted someone with their finances that didn't do what they're supposed to do, and they find themselves where they can't afford a roof over their head.
I mean, that to me is a shame on us, on society, that we have our older Americans living on these streets. What can be done about that?
And then a lot of folks that from the jobs that they've worked 20 and 30 years don't have pensions.
Right.
And the only thing that they can rely on is their Social Security. And Social Security cannot solely support you in the city and the county that we live in.
Right. I know I was looking at a video. You might be able to go to Belize. You might be able to go to Spain, but it ain't going to cut it in LA County.
Exactly.
So they have to move, or we have to do better.
We find ourselves in a situation where a lot of folks don't have mental issues. They just economically cannot afford to live under a roof.
Why can't the city and county own housing? I mean, I know projects kind of have a bad rap, but I feel like we've got all these buildings that have low occupancy. Why can't we buy them and put some of our older citizens there?
Yeah, I can't speak for the city, but I would think that the city is so departmentalized and compartmentalized. Operating their own individual housing may become challenging. That's why they farm it out to community-based organizations and other organizations, and they contract with them to support folks who need those resources and need a roof over their head.
Well, Tim, we got 60 seconds. What do you want to leave us with this morning?
60 seconds. Anybody that wants to reach out and get in touch with Urban Alchemy, they can reach me at TimKornegay at urban-alchemy.us. Anybody that has the time and likes to get on the computer and research Urban Alchemy and see that the work that we do, as I said, we don't do violence intervention or gang intervention, so to speak, but it's under the umbrella of, because we employ so many recovering and transitioning members who come from those street organizations. It could be arguably one of the biggest gang intervention prevention organizations in the country.
As far as recovery, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and also, I mean, that's a whole other show, but you do have people that are from, that are gang affiliated that are unhoused as well.
Exactly, yeah. A large population.
Yeah.
And it's just something that's not talked about a lot, but there's folks who, under the umbrella of, hey, if you couch surfing and you don't have a rent in your name, you don't have a lease, you don't have a mortgage in your name, and you have no place to live but where folks will provide space, you're technically homeless.
Yeah. Kornegay is Kornegay. Tim Kornegay at urban-alchemy.us. Tim, thank you so much for coming in. It's always great to talk with you.
Thank you. Always an honor and a pleasure. Can't wait to come back next time.
Yay. Phone lines are open. 800-920-1580. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says he may postpone his upcoming China trip because of the Iran war, telling reporters he feels he must stay in Washington.
I'd love to, but because of the war, I want to be here. I have to be here, I feel.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also said the visit might not happen as planned. An Iowa Senate subcommittee has stalled a House-passed bill to ban DEI offices at private universities. Supporters say schools shouldn't get taxpayer money if they promote